Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety podcast. This is episode 189. My name is Jacob, and I am here with one of our new co-hosts, Lauren. Lauren was on episode 187, so a recent episode. Lauren, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be back. I just really loved being on it. So I appreciate you guys inviting me back. I hope I can be a help to everyone because this podcast has been a great addition to my recovery.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, we're excited to have another co-host and appreciate you offering up some of your time to do that with us. So, Lauren, you had a topic you wanted to dive into today. Why don't you tell us about that?
I was thinking about the topic and really because in my episode, I shared a lot about consequences because I had some pretty severe consequences due to my using of 7-OH. And even people that don't have those huge catastrophic events, we all have those consequences that we face. Some physical issues with skin or hair, or even if it's all to the extreme where I had lost my apartment and wrecked my car and things. The consequences are so severe sometimes. And I just think that a lot of people don't focus. I listen to a ton of podcasts and we touch on the fact that there are consequences to this that can be severe, that recovery isn't just about emotional recovery, but it's also about life recovery. I think that when I went to things or started talking to people, the fact that I had dealt with my life.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I, I was fortunate enough to not still be using Kratom when 7-OH came out. I'm sure I probably would have had a lot more severe consequences if that was available when I was still using and curious about the products. I still had plenty of consequences from my Kratom addiction. Using extracts was pretty financially expensive, and there's the lies and the relationships you burn, all that stuff, and then having a previous lengthy addiction to other substances, which have a lot of time off of now. Even to this day, there's still like things that were life changing in some of those addictions. I ruined a pretty important relationship in my 20s that I still can't rebuild in my 40s. So some of those things will stick with you, that's for sure.
Like I said, when we're cleaning up our body, sometimes it can be really, and what I was doing all the time. And that's because I knew I wasn't doing it anymore. But to look back on that and it seemed just how to face like the temptations and things like that, the better off it is. So it does, I think it's better. There are those relationships that we've lost or things that we've lost. I lost a really great job. I had to face a really great job. Learning to appreciate the things that we get back or the things that we still, it's really important what we've done in our recovery. Some things, not everything is lost.
Yeah. There's a lot of things in what you said that I could certainly relate to. The loss of trust. It's hard to gain trust, and it's even harder to gain trust back when you've lost it. And then, if you listen to a lot of recovery-based podcasts or go to a lot of meetings, you'll inevitably hear, and it's usually from people that have some decent amount of time sober, you'll hear gratitude. I think when you're in early sobriety, sometimes it can be very hard to relate to that because you're still dealing with the fallout of the consequences of your addiction. So when someone's, you've got to be grateful for your sobriety. Yes, you do, but you also can take the time you need to get to a point where you feel like you can be grateful, because it can be really hard at any stage of recovery, but in early recovery in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I said my mom's, I'm 42. That's a huge consequence that I had to face. I still have to face it, but yeah, you're right. The gratitude, it's important, even when it's really hard. Sometimes where I just go for a walk and try to say, I'm glad I can feel the fresh air. I'm glad I'm not still in the hospital. And those things that have happened to me, I'm glad. And like you had said, polysubstance use, knowing what it was like through other things did help me. I knew that I got through opiate addiction, and I knew that we can get through it. But sometimes it's just your first time getting through it. It can be hard and the consequences can be heavy. But there are people here on this podcast in the group that do have the story of the afterlife, of the life after the addiction. That can be encouraging.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely can be encouraging. And yeah, You got to face the damage that you've done head on and just start rebuilding. And there's no shortcutting of it, but I will say that it is definitely better. And like you said, it's easier to face that when you're not in the midst of addiction and you're not just hiding from it, more or less.
Yeah, that denial is so deep, especially I feel like with Kratom and using other drugs, I did see that I had a problem so much sooner than I did with Kratom.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the concept. You have to come clean with that in order to get anywhere really with recovery.
Yeah, definitely. We could probably talk about this all afternoon, but we'll want to get you on to a good interview we have lined up. Everybody have a great week and keep it kratom free.
Hi, welcome to the Kratom Sobriety podcast. This is Lily, and today I am here with Tiffany. How's it going, Tiffany?
I'm good, Lily. How are you?
Good. So I'm excited to talk with you. We've been messaging back and forth for a couple weeks now, and here we are. We
Yeah.
finally made it to the interview. You've
Yay.
been very active on social media about your experience, and we've been chatting on there. And yeah, it's great to connect online about this and see your face. And
Yeah.
yeah. So
You too.
how would you like to introduce yourself today?
So I'm Tiffany. I opened a juice bar in September. I'm coming up on a year off of Kratom this Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
So this time has just been a lot of reflection. Everything's really fresh because this is where it all started for me. But yeah, recovery's been a big part of my life for a long time. Filed for divorce almost 4 years ago after being a stay-at-home mom and doing a lot of volunteer work. And so it's just been rediscovering me and who I am and what my passions are. And yeah, it's just been a lot of growth and change. And yeah, I guess that's good, right? That's enough.
Wonderful. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
And do you want to tell folks like where you are in the world?
I'm in Vancouver, Washington, just the first city north of Portland, Oregon. Yeah, across
Yeah.
the I-5 bridge there. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So what do you do for fun? Sounds like you're at the juice bar a lot. Is that fun for you?
It's so much fun. Like we say all the time, that's our platform or the interface for where we meet people. It's all about community and connection, and we always have a lot of fun there. Spending time with my kids, and yeah, I love going out and playing pool, and gotten a little addicted to Miss Pac-Man lately, but nothing too exciting or crazy. Just I love service work, and being involved in my community is really where my heart is. Yeah.
That's amazing. Do you have a favorite juice on the menu right now?
My favorite is Queen, the Queen juice, and it's this beautiful red color. I made one at home that I'm drinking on right now, but yeah, I love the Queen juice. They're all good though. They really are.
Like
I've been trying.
something?
There's
Like
beets.
yeah.
There's beets, so that's where the red color comes from. But yeah,
Cool.
I've really loved juicing. It's been a big part of my life for a long time. I am new to business, but my business partner is not. Just been learning a lot and
Yeah.
just enjoying serving our community and helping with health and wellness and bringing kids in to teach. And it's just, yeah, I'm really excited to see where we go from here.
I love that. That's great. So your Kratom quit date. So that was almost a whole year ago, and then you're going to be a year off of it on, you said March 1st?
March 1st, Sunday.
Oh
Yep.
my God.
So,
Okay. That's
yeah,
exciting.
It's so exciting. God, I'm getting emotional just thinking about how the journey has gone, and just so grateful to be out of that. Yeah, I really didn't know if I was going to make it. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And it's not the only substance I've quit, but by far the hardest. And I'm just grateful to still be here today, off of it, free from it, and just want other people to know that there's hope, that it can
Yeah.
be done. Yeah.
Yeah. Take us back to your first encounter with Kratom. What was going on in your life at the time, and what form was it in? How did you hear about it or find it?
Yeah. So it was fall, I think October or November of 2024. And I had just gone through a lot of upheaval in my family, pretty much became estranged to everyone in my immediate family at the same time. And I had a lot of anxiety. I was in the middle of finalizing my divorce and just a lot of anxiety, hard time sleeping. And a friend said, "Well, I take Kratom for those things pretty much every night, and I have some, you should try it." And I think the first couple of times it was offered, I said no, because I did have in the back of my head, this might be a slippery slope. I'm usually really careful about what I put into my body because of my struggles with addiction in the past. And something in me said, this might not be a good idea. But my friend said, it's a plant supplement. It's great for anxiety. It's great for sleep. It's not addictive. All the things that people think are true about Kratom. And at one point, I was just like, okay, I'm desperate just for some relief right now. I'm willing to try it. And tried it. It was a powder, and it was the plant. It was from
Okay.
a reputable source in Portland. That's where I purchased it in the beginning. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So you were going through a hard time and you were opening up to a friend about it and they recommended
right.
it. And do you know how long they were on it when they recommended it to you?
Um,
Just curious.
I think a few years at least. And
Wow.
yeah, and
Okay.
I think that they were very careful about only taking the actual plant and really limited how much they took of it. So
Interesting.
as far as I know, they're still taking it. I don't know
Wow.
that it's something that they've tried quitting or that progressed as much as it did with me.
Interesting.
But I think what really caused the issues for me was one day I was out and the shop over in Portland was closed. So I started Googling and I ended up going up the street to a head shop, and they had, I think, red, white, green, 3 big buckets of
Hmm.
powder, completely unlabeled, that they just scooped it into these little silver Ziploc baggies and wrote on it with a Sharpie. And I have no idea what was in it to this day.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started buying it from there. And I think that's it really, when I really felt like it became an addiction and something that it didn't take long for me to be waking up and needing to take it pretty much around the clock. And I thought that it was helping with my anxiety, but I can see now that it was making it worse. And I was having to take more of it to feel
Yeah.
normal,
Yeah.
wasn't getting high by any means, and just felt like I was caught in that cycle of addiction, really, probably within a month or two of starting. I used it
Wow.
for
Yeah.
maybe 5 months total, and it got out of control really quickly for me.
Yeah. That's a common story. Yeah. Even with quote unquote just the powder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised your friend said it wasn't addictive and they were using it for years. But yeah. Anyway, we
Yeah.
know what we know when we know it. And maybe this is why we're
Yeah.
talking about it now.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you said that you had come off of other substances in the past. Do you want to briefly give us an explanation of
Sure.
like your history with addictions?
Yeah. So I took my first drink when I was 15, and I had always had an awareness about alcoholism because my grandfather was an alcoholic. So I had heard stories about how that was when my dad was growing up, and knew that addiction was in my genes. And I realized when I took that first drink that I felt differently about it than most people. I just could realize that I already wanted to start planning the next time I was going to use it. And I just knew, like, this, I don't feel normally about this, but it also gave me a feeling that I had felt like I had searched for my entire life. And yeah, by the time I was 20, I was drinking a fifth a day. And ended up going to my first AA meeting when I was 20 years old by myself and got sober for the first time then. I've been sober from alcohol most of my adult life. I relapsed during COVID for about 6 weeks, but I feel like that obsession and compulsion has completely been removed from my life. I have no desire to drink again. It's just a non-issue for me. I also have had a couple of times during my life where I've struggled with opiates and even Xanax. And I never bought those on the street, but I was overprescribed and not taking them as prescribed. And
Yeah.
so I did have a week where I came off of Oxy at home by myself. And it
Okay.
was within a week, I was detoxed and didn't go back to that again. And then Xanax, I went to treatment about 4.5 years ago. And the Xanax I had been abusing at that point, not for about a month, probably, maybe 2. But my main reason for going to treatment was I've quit drinking, I've quit these substances, and I still feel like I have things that need addressed, and I'm not getting the help I need out here. So I went to a trauma-informed treatment, which was an incredible experience for me, and did their 3-day trauma workshop and came out and have been off all of their substances since then, which was October 23rd of, it's a little over 4 years now. So 2021, I think. I don't
That's
remember
great.
exactly.
So
but
you were pretty much off of everything for about 3 years before you found Kratom? Okay, cool.
yeah,
Yeah. That's amazing.
it
Okay,
is. And I
so
realize a lot of the
yeah,
time I'm like,
a lot.
okay, this is an expectation of me, and I need to stop and realize a lot of people don't get this. And I need to be more grateful and give myself a little bit more credit, because I do see that a lot of people just get caught in that cycle of not being able to stay quit. I'm really grateful for my recovery, and AA played a huge part in that. I absolutely love AA. I don't go to meetings often anymore, but I highly recommend that for anybody new to recovery for sure.
I'm glad it helped you, especially so young too. Like you don't always hear about people vibing with AA in their 20s as much. That's
Yeah.
great. That's
Oh,
really
yeah.
great. It helped you then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so we'll go back to when you first found Kratom. You went to the head shop, you got the powder out of the mystery bins,
Yeah.
and it went up from there. So how often were you using it when you started, and then how did it progress?
I it's not something I was as aware of in the beginning as I wish I was, how much I was using it. It became daily pretty quickly. And then, like I said, within a couple of months, it was something I was waking up to take more of. That was the other thing, is when I went into the shop, I asked how much to take, and she's, "Oh, I take a heaping spoonful every couple of hours." And
Oh my God.
I started doing like a heaping tablespoon. She probably meant a teaspoon. I don't know. But yeah, and to be doing that every couple of hours. And then the other thing was, in the beginning, I was in a tough spot financially, and she was giving me free product for a while. And I was like, oh, this woman is such a blessing. She's so generous, really looking out for me when I'm struggling, and really thought she was such a blessing. And looking back, I don't see it the same way anymore. Yeah, but
Hard.
I think by the end, I was taking anywhere from 6 to 10 tablespoons a day, which I had a friend whose brother is a big man, like 6'5", I don't even know, huge man. And he had done Kratom for 6 years and was just at that dose at the end of his use. So that told me how high the dosage was. And I don't know grams. I feel like most people talk grams, but yeah,
Yeah.
I increased my usage very rapidly in a very short
Yeah.
amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's different, and sometimes people tolerate things quicker, and depending on their experience with other drugs or not experience, it can affect it. And you said that coming off of this was harder than the Xanax and the
Oh,
other.
a million times harder. So much harder. Yeah. A lot of that was also just not having resources. I didn't know a single person who had been through it. So I didn't know, how long is this going to take? What can I expect? Who can I go to for support? It felt very lonely and very, just a lot was up in the air. I can take one more day of this, but I have no idea how long it's going to take. So it was just very scary not having the knowledge or the resources, or I wish I had heard of your podcast back then, because it probably would have made a huge difference for me throughout
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I didn't know about the podcast when I was coming off of it either. I found it down the line too. And it's like, whenever you can find it, it helps. But
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I'm just glad you guys are here so that less people have to feel that way.
Yeah. Would you say that there was like a certain moment or time when you realized, oh shit, I'm addicted, this is a problem? Like, when did you notice that or realize?
Yeah, so I definitely realized I was addicted. I definitely wasn't at a point where I was ready to do anything about it yet.
Mhm.
There was a day that I was at work and I literally felt my body start shutting down. And I was a volunteer firefighter for years. And I remembered they said, you know what, even if the person looks good and their vitals look good, if they say they're dying, you listen to them, because you have an innate sense in your mind and body when something's not right. And so that really
Yeah.
scared me. It felt like my muscles weren't working appropriately. I don't even really know how to explain it, but my vision started to go and I felt very weak, and I was like, okay, this has to stop. I'm going to die. And I didn't feel like I could tell anybody at that point, but I told one
Yeah.
friend, and I was like, I feel like my body's shutting down. I feel like I might die. And she's, Tiff, don't say that. Not from Kratom. You can't die from Kratom. And the more that since then that I've spoken with people, I've known friends of friends whose heart stopped and they died. And there's all these stories coming out now that it's a very real possibility. And I think I was very
Mhm.
close. Yeah.
I am glad you made it. And I am sorry that person said that because, yeah, they didn't know. And you can't,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of those things where, again, it depends on the person. Like, how is your overall health? Like, how is your heart? How is your blood flow? How is everything? And are
Right.
you on other medications? Like, how does it interact with everything that's going on with you? And that's why it's hard too, because obviously it's not a prescription. So you can't like discuss with your doctor, like, oh, does this counteract my Wellbutrin or whatever? You can't talk about that.
Yeah.
So it might be really doing you harm more than normal and you don't even know how or why. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Okay, so you thought you were going down, and then
Yeah.
you said you're not, and then what
Yeah.
happened? Do you go to the ER? What did you do?
No, so at that point my divorce had finalized in January. I went through a lot in a very short period of time, just life circumstances. So my divorce finalized. When it finalized, I was told I had to sell the house that I was living in, which was the only house my daughter ever lived in her whole life, and the house that my son had lived in most of his life. So that was a really emotional time for all of us. It was a massive downsize. I basically moved into a very small duplex that I ended up paying more for than the mortgage was on that house. So it was just really painful to let it go and then to be paying more for a tiny house not in the same neighborhood. And it was just really hard on my kids to go through all of that. And then my grandmother passed away, and just still very estranged from my family and feeling very alone. It was tough, but I knew that if I went and got help, that there was a good chance my ex would try to take my kids, because in our parenting plan it says that neither of us are to be under the influence of anything while during our parenting time.
Yeah.
It was just so hard because kratom wasn't considered a drug, but we all know now that it is. So it was just a tough place to be, and I didn't really know how to move forward and get help without jeopardizing that and my job. I told my friend, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not risking all of that. I'm going to cold turkey it this weekend and go back to work on Monday was my plan. And I had no idea that was really not possible. So I spent the entire weekend in my bedroom just going through hell. And I'm a big Chiefs fan, and it was Super Bowl weekend last year. And I had no idea it even came and went. It was
Wow.
like I was in my bedroom just going through it. And I think anyone who's detoxed from this knows that it's like every symptom in the book. It's the chills and the sweats and the nausea and the headache and the coming out of your skin and exhausted, but you can't sleep. And it's literally just torment is the only word that I can use to describe how it feels. And it feels like it's never going to go away. And it just feels very hopeless. And I knew that Sunday night that cold turkeying wasn't going to work for me. I'm like, I have to be able to go to work. I have to be able to care for my kids. So I started a taper, and I did a 3-week taper, and, started all these supplements that were suggested to me. I don't even really remember what they were, but like the different mushroom things and like lion's mane and those mushroom supplements and vitamin C. And I had this whole regimen and had my daily allotment of Kratom all prepped and ready. And
Yeah.
I basically, it wasn't as severe as when I tried to cold turkey, but those entire 3 weeks at work, I was having those same symptoms. It was
Oof.
it was really hard. I still don't know how I got through it, to be honest. It was basically just surviving, just getting through, and just terrified that I was going to lose my job and my kids, or else I probably would have gone to the hospital and gotten help sooner. But I really wanted to try it on my own.
It
So,
sounds like a really difficult place to be worrying about risking having your kids with you and
yeah.
your job. That sounds really hard, especially when you're under that much stress, even trying to quit. Like, it's a lot for one person to handle. Sounds really tough.
Yeah. And when I did end up going to get help, exactly what I feared would happen anyways. I was able to walk through it. Luckily, we're back to our 50-50 plan now. But yeah, when I was in detox that first week, I got notified of a restraining order that my ex put on me to try to keep my kids from me. And
Oh,
I've never been more scared in my entire life. I literally just collapsed to the ground in detox and it was awful to be seeking help on your own. Nobody called and said there were concerns. The kids were at school every day on time. They were fed, bathed, clothed, happy. I was still maintaining my job. They were really never put in harm's way. So that was not only incredibly scary and painful, there was just so much shame in that. And I think
oh yeah.
that was a big part of the intention behind it, unfortunately. But yeah, it was really scary. And I didn't hold up in court. Obviously, there was really no basis for it. But to have that put on me when I was at my bottom trying to get help was still, I just can't wrap my head around it. But
Yeah.
I did walk through that.
Yeah. It's getting you when you're already down and you're doing your very best.
Yeah.
That sounds really difficult. So you told him about the Kratom and then he responded with a restraining order, or how did that work?
So so I did the 3-week taper. The day or the night after my last dose was the worst night of my life. I completely lost my mind. I feel like I was still having all the symptoms that I had during the taper, only they were much, much worse. And couldn't sleep, couldn't really sit still, but was exhausted and nauseous and headache and the worst anxiety I've ever had in my life, and just not knowing how I was going to make it through. And there was a really dark spiritual component to it. And then I even felt like I was like hearing like people out in the street and things. Like my mind was playing tricks on me, like I guess hallucinating a little bit. I don't really know what was real and what wasn't that night. But that morning, I called my mom, who we hadn't spoken in about 4 years, but I didn't know who else to call. And I was like, I need you to come now. And she came, and I could barely walk out to her car to go to the ER. And we get to the ER, and the ER doctors didn't even know how to help me. They didn't know anything about Kratom. They said that my insurance wouldn't cover a detox because it's not a drug. And thank God my mom worked for a medical facility in Oregon who had the only Kratom specific treatment program, I think on the West Coast at the time. So she made some phone calls, but that doctor told her if she expects to stay off of Kratom, she will need to be on Suboxone the rest of her life. It changes your brain so much that's what he said. And
Okay.
so the ER doctor brought me Suboxone, and I sat there and held it in my hand for 2 hours because I know myself and I know addiction, and I just knew I can't even be trusted with this, and I don't want this to be my life. I don't want to be on this the rest of my life. Eventually I took it, and about 20 minutes later I felt better than I had in a year.
Wow. It was that fast.
It was that fast and that drastic. It was wild. But I was like, I can't go back home right now. I need help. I can't go. I need medical oversight. I need a safe place to go and give me enough time to fully detox this.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to a detox facility, and the way that they covered it was classifying it as psychiatric. So I was in a psychiatric, it was half psychiatric, half substance use detox. And that was one of the scariest experiences of my life, too. There were people there who were really outside of their mind and really scary to be basically locked into a facility with, and also have to sign a paper that says that the staff there can restrain me or not let me leave, or all based on their own judgment. Being willing to sign that was very scary. But I guess my reasoning at the time was I can say that I came here for medication management, and my ex can't use that I've been using a substance against me with my kids, was how I made it make sense. But
Yeah.
eventually told him about the Kratom as well.
Okay.
But yeah, that being in that detox facility was a complete trip. They stripped you of every single comfort you can possibly imagine. I think you get 2 outfits in there, and just everything is very regimented. And I ended up doing 4 days of Suboxone in there, but I was very clear, I'll do this to get over the hump, but then I'm done. I'm not staying on this. This isn't something that I'm leaving here on.
Okay. So how long were you in this treatment center for?
So I was in there for 10 days, and it was just a detox facility. They did have a lot of groups that were actually really valuable, and I got a lot from. After 10 days, I wasn't ready to leave, but they were like, you're gone. You're leaving.
Oh.
And then I was going to do their outpatient, but the withdrawal symptoms and everything came right back. Like there were certain meds that I was on in there that they messed up calling in the prescriptions on, and I was right back in detox when I came out.
No.
Yeah, it was it was
that's
awful.
so scary.
So I ended up back
that's
there, which is
maddening
crazy.
to hear. I'm
I
like
know.
so mad in your honor.
There was a lot. They didn't get my lawyer the information they promised regarding the situation with my kids. They didn't get my FMLA paperwork in. There was a lot of big things that they really dropped the ball on that really impacted my life and my state of mind at the time. And I did just see I saw a lot when I was in there that still makes me upset because people just deserve better. But
It's hard because it's like these are places that are meant to help us, and some of them can be really amazing. And then there's some centers where they're like, okay, we do detox only, and you're in and you're done, and now you're done and back to the world. And
yeah,
that's where the aftercare comes in with podcasts and counseling and group dynamics
yeah,
and like all these things that you have to, in a way, seek out yourself in order to
yeah,
get help like past the detox. So, okay, I
100%.
had
There
to
were
like,
people in there who were like homeless and no resources
yeah,
and came in, detoxed off of the substances, and then they were basically just kicked back out to be homeless and have no resources. And I'm like, where? I know there's resources. Why aren't they being
yeah.
as they exit? But yeah, it's the system. It's what we got when
So,
it's not good enough,
okay,
but it is what it is.
so you went back through withdrawal afterwards because the medication mix up, and then you went back to the treatment center, or how did
I
that go?
I went back to detox for 5 days. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when I did see another Kratom patient. And that was my
Yeah.
first time seeing someone else who was going through it. And she didn't have a 3-week taper under her belt. So it was even more drastic to witness. It was wild just seeing her detoxing and me talking to the medical staff and saying, this is what they used to help me. And they wouldn't listen to me and they wouldn't give her the Suboxone to get through that first period. And it was incredibly painful to watch and made me very angry. Like, why isn't she getting the same care that I received? Why it just didn't make sense to me. And it was really strange. But as she got worse, it started to get like this dark blackness under her eyes that slowly traveled down. It looked like two black, like triangle points down her face as she was coming off this. It was like the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It was just like, it looked like darkness or evil just like leaving her body. It was
Wow.
a complete trip. And she finally just said, I need an ambulance. Like, I need to go to the ER. You guys are not helping me or listening to me. And so the EMT showed up and they actually sat with me and we talked and they listened and
Great.
they hadn't really heard of Kratom and they were so receptive and just having them validate my feelings and my experience and even the suggestions that I had was just huge for me in that moment. But
Mm.
I told them, I'm like, you're going to start seeing more of this. I guarantee it. Like it's the next epidemic or I don't even know, but it's a problem that not a lot of people know about, but it's getting worse and more common and it's everywhere and just wait and see.
Yeah, I'm glad that they listened to you and you were able to connect with someone finally.
Yeah, it made a really big difference for me. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
what was the first month off of it completely like for you? Like after those rounds of detox and it was off the taper and all that? What was that like?
so I ended up getting out of detox that second time in time to visit my son on his birthday real quick and then attend my grandma's funeral. And I don't know if it was the stress of everything or what, but I felt like detox symptoms came back for me again. And I tried to go back to work that Monday and had told my job because we had a new operating system in the computers. And I was like, I've been through a lot. I need to sit with someone and not just be thrown right back into this. And within an hour, they were like, we need you on your own. And it was just incredibly stressful. And I felt like I went right back into withdrawals. It was, yeah. And I didn't know what to do, but I went to HR and I was like, I can't do this. I am going to go to treatment. And so I ended up in treatment, inpatient treatment after that. And honestly, I don't know exactly when the detox symptoms fully stopped. It was like they came and went for a while. It was probably at least the first month where I was still, maybe I didn't have them all the time, but they weren't gone for sure. But
Well,
yeah, I
there's
went to
like
inpatient and Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when folks are having the off and on detox symptoms, I know there's the acute withdrawal, the detox part where it's leaving your body. And then there's
Hmm.
the pause, the post acute withdrawal syndrome. And a lot of those
Yeah.
things come and go. And so it sounds like you were getting a heavy dose of pause as well, which I also
Yeah.
experienced. And I was like, what the hell is this? I'm done.
Yeah.
Why is it doing this? So yeah, it can be very
Absolutely.
frustrating, but it can be part of the process. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was too. It was just much more frequent than any other substance that I had come off of. It wasn't something that I felt like once I was past like the first however many days that it wasn't that hard to manage. But this was like, I was felt like I would be right back in it all of a sudden. And so that's where it was really scary, just not knowing what to expect. Like, when is this part going to be done? How long is this going to last? Am I going to be put into stress at work and not be able to stay and perform my job duties? It was really stressful,
Yeah.
just wondering how long
Yeah.
is this going to be an issue? So,
It's scary to not have answers. It really is. It's not knowing. And it's like for people that tend to run anxious anyway, we're like, when is it
yeah.
over?
No,
And
absolutely.
yeah.
If I know how long it's going to be, like, I can probably get through that. But if it's the unknown with it, I can't do this forever.
Yeah. You can't count down the days. You're like, all right, I've counted down from 10 and I have to start doing that again. What is it?
Yeah. For
Ah,
me, at that point, by the time I went into inpatient, it had been a 3-week taper, 2-week detox. Like, I was just like, when is enough? When is this going to be done? Yeah.
was the inpatient treatment experience later better than the detox experience?
Yeah. And I still took a lot of really good things from the detox experience. It was mostly like the medical stuff that I struggled with, but treatment was really good. It was the same facility that I had been to 4.5 years before, or
Good.
what? Yeah, now
Prior.
it's about 4.5 years prior. Then it was a little less, but yeah. So I knew what to expect, and it was a really good experience for me for sure. I made some really good friends in there, and I know a lot of people don't suggest like people new in recovery spending a lot of time together, but when we all got out, we spent a ton of time together, and I don't know how I would have survived the months after that without those girls, honestly. Like, they made me feel truly valued and good enough and just embraced all my quirks, and we just had fun, and we call it the best worst summer ever because we were all going through so much. I was still fighting in court with my ex. When I first came out of inpatient, I had to do supervised visits once a week, weekly drug tests, which I have no problem with, but I was trying to do them on my lunch hour and I was late a lot. And then there were times when I showed up and I couldn't pee, or when there wasn't a woman there, so it was a man watching me pee. It was like, it cost like almost $300 every week. It was a lot.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
stressful. There was that. And then there was court dates and trying to do all the back and forth when you're having legal stuff and write, address the court and all these documents. And it was just very stressful. And trying to do those things while I was working was really hard. And I could tell the moment I got back to work that they were trying to get rid of me. And I told everyone, I'm like, they're trying to cover their butts, but also let me go at the same time. And I'd never been fired from a job in my life. And I was back there for about 2 months when they called me back and said they were letting me go, which was a blessing. I was really not happy there, but everyone in my life is like, it's really smart, secure, stable. Like, you have retirement, you have benefits, you need to stay. And so I saw it coming, and it was almost like humiliating to even continue showing up every day, but I did it. I was like, I'm not leaving here without unemployment at least. And if they want to get rid of me, they're not going to shame me into it. They can tell me I'm fired. And so eventually that did happen. And it really felt like kind of everything in my life was just falling apart. And I was staying sober, but it felt like that was just about the only thing I was getting right at that point. So that was tough. And then, yeah, just not knowing what I was going to do for work and just continuing to jump through the hoops to get back to our original parenting plan in the courts. And so I finally completed everything that was necessary there and went back to the week on, week off with my kids, which, yeah, I struggle when they're gone. So that was a really hard time, especially after having basically been away in detox and treatment for 2 months. It was tough.
Yeah. That's
But
a lot of things to go through, even when you're totally clear-minded and not going
yeah,
through addiction, all that. Yeah,
yeah,
you went through the ringer there.
yeah, yeah, I definitely did. We can stay sober and walk through shit like that. It just
Yeah.
comes down to, and I didn't do it gracefully, a lot of it, but I didn't quit. And I did have more support at that time. And I can look back and see how all of these really ugly things during that time have just been transformed into the most beautiful gifts in my life today. My son especially was very angry when I filed for divorce, and I feel like he spent 2 years straight just really angry at me.
Aw.
And going through this and him seeing how human I am, and just, yeah, I feel like it's completely softened his heart towards me. And we're just closer today than we've ever been. And even like having to sell the house, the fact that I couldn't stay there and finance it and moved into a place where I'm paying more and all of those things, I wouldn't have had funds to fight in court to make sure I got to keep my kids. And it's just like all these little details lined up exactly how they were supposed to. And then even losing my job and getting to open a business, that's been my dream since I can remember. And
Wonderful.
I've had so much fun there, but I never would have had the courage to do that. So it's like all of
Mhm.
these things just turned out to be such big blessings when I really thought that my world was falling apart, and it
Yeah.
really was just falling into place.
Sometimes you have to break everything down to build back up. So it sounds like you definitely went through all of that. Everything
Yeah.
coming apart, everything dissolving, and then starting from one brick at a time, going back up and building exactly what you needed to at the time. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you found friendship in recovery and you had your, what did you say, best, worst summer ever? That
Best
we
worst
said?
summer ever. Yep. Yeah, we spent the majority of the time playing pool and dive bars, and which I know also is frowned upon for people newly in recovery. My friends were newly in recovery from alcohol, and they knew they wouldn't go to a bar with anybody but me. Like I was a very safe person to do that with. And it probably wasn't the best idea. We went and we stayed sober and we had a great time. We got really good at pool, okay? Like really good. I finally beat the town pool shark, and I wanted to embarrass them, so I bought the special pool glove
The
where
dorky glove. Yeah.
the dorky glove. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I ended up loving it. So joke's on me. Now I play pool with one of those and look like a tool. But we
Yep.
we drove around just listening to music, singing at the top of our lungs. Just it felt like I hadn't had friends like that since I was a kid. And that is literally what got me through that and my faith. Like I don't know where I would be without it. So
Do you still talk to these friends or do you ever connect when you're having a hard moment or how does that work?
yeah, so one of them, we had a falling out and I had to draw some boundaries with her. And that was the end of that relationship. But the other one, we're still very close. She moved like an hour and a half away. So we don't see each other as much. But yeah, we still text all the time and are really there for each other. And she was actually supposed to come visit me today, but it
Oh,
didn't work out. But yeah, we still do meet up. It seems like maybe once a month or so
that's awesome.
and spend time together. But yeah, we definitely are each other's confidant and text and vent and all of
Good.
it all the time. Yeah.
It's really important to have at least one person that gets it that you can talk with about this. It just seems like that is the number one tool that people
Mm.
really need to continue that healing and find help and stability. It just seems like that's the key. It's like at least one person that gets it
Yeah,
you can talk to.
100%. Yeah. And she
Were
also
there
struggles with
oh,
ADHD and some of the other things that I struggle with. So to have someone get that and be able
oh
to
yeah.
just
Oh yeah.
just someone who understands, someone who I am so overwhelmed by these tasks and I can't even get started and I feel like such a failure in POS and she's the one who says, "Tiff, think about it. Do you see how far you've come in such a short time?" And you're right. Like I'm so hard on myself and it's a process. I'm not going to have it all together overnight, but I do need to
Yeah.
realize, yeah, I have come a really long way and I'll continue to grow and I'm not going to be perfect.
Hell yeah. Ah, you have come a long way. It's been a year and you were in a completely different place a year ago.
Yeah.
You have come a long way. And it's also hard because like we all have this end goal in our minds of I'm going to be great and not ever think about it and I'm not going to be sad anymore and it's okay, sure, but there's steps to get there. You don't just look yourself and get fixed, like whatever that means.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be nice.
it's like stages. I know but it would also would it give us the amnesia of all of the things that we've learned? Like you're like I want to learn the lessons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If it's
Yeah.
too easy, you don't really appreciate it. I don't feel like,
Yeah. Yeah. No one wants to suffer, but also we need to learn as we're healing.
yeah.
And then that's what sticks too. So let's see, a couple other questions about coming out of things. Have you had any like close calls or like slips where you were tempted to go back to Kratom or anything?
So I feel like I've been very blessed in that regard. And I think a big part of it is that I never tried the concentrate. I never tried, is it 7OH? Or I didn't even know about it. Thank God, because the effects of what I was taking were so minimal that then I'm hearing now the concentrate feels like stronger than morphine.
Mhm.
And had I been taking something that made me feel really good, I think it would be a lot easier for me to entertain the idea of picking up again. It didn't really make me feel that great. The effects were very mild in the beginning and then not at all eventually. And then after what I went through coming off of it, I can honestly say I haven't had one single thought of ever picking up again. I hate it. I just have pure disdain for it. And even when I was having withdrawals come back and I was home in between that detox time, that still wasn't even an option for me. And I don't know, I don't, I've never experienced that really with any other substance. The other substances I've come off of, I've definitely at least had those thoughts or whatever. And this has just been a totally different experience for me. Yeah, I haven't. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think it was just because of how hard it was to come off of mostly.
That's really lucky. I'm glad you haven't had
Yeah.
a lot of close calls or cravings. Yeah, what do you do today to keep yourself in this sobriety mindset? Do you have certain rituals or like things that you eat or drink that help you? Like, what do you like to do?
I go in and out of having certain rituals or practices that I do, and then I'll get out of the habit. But things that really do help me is, I think it's called, I can never remember if it's two or three, but two-way prayer meetings in the mornings. And they're at 5:30 for Pacific time people. So that's why I struggle
Woo!
to make it there. But when I do prayer, meditation, worship, writing and journaling, reading, music, just all of those things really keep me grounded and sane. And my spiritual connection to my higher power, who I call God, is like the number one thing that just changes everything in my life. And I start to feel like I have things handled and pull away from that. And then when life inevitably happens and I fall into fear or worry or all these other things, it's always just getting back to that and getting centered and grounded in that for me.
I love that. What is two-way prayer? Tell me about that. I've never heard of that.
It is so cool. So it's basically on Zoom and people join from all over the world and they go over the four absolutes, like absolute honesty and purity. And I don't know, there's a whole thing, but then they have a reading where it talks about how to talk to God. and then they put on music and you just write. And it's like writing your prayers, basically.
Oh, I love that.
But it's very all inclusive. It's not like one religion, and it's also not just recovery. It's like anyone's welcome, any belief system. And then they put you into breakout rooms of like small groups, and you read your prayers. And then the other people there can say, what I heard while you were reading your prayer is this. And it's just wild how, I don't know, you'll just hear things that it's more than just coincidence. So it's just been a really cool way to get connected, and then also to see my God work through other people and the things that they share with me. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful way to start the day. But yeah, they have them every day. And
Would someone find that? I'm so curious. Is it
yeah,
through
I
AA
have the
or
link.
maybe we can drop
It's
that
kind
in
of
the
separate, I
show
think.
note?
Yeah, I can get you the
Snap.
link. I think I heard about it when I was doing Zoom meetings during COVID. And one of the girls in there just spoke about it because it's not an AA meeting. They do reference it a little bit in addiction or whatever. But yeah, it's been one of my favorite discoveries, and
Yeah.
has just really helped me a lot.
Sounds like a beautiful practice. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm writing it
Yeah.
down. It sounds beautiful and especially to be validated. Like you're basically journaling your hopes and dreams, and then someone's like, yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Sounds
And then
amazing.
like normally I write like the first 5 minutes of it or whatever, a prayer, and then the last 5 I write as if God was speaking to me. And I think that's been like one of the biggest pieces of my healing is actually physically writing like how my God would talk to me and what he says. And it just makes me feel accepted and good enough and just seen and loved in a way that I hadn't really experienced before trying that. So that's another one of my favorite ones to do.
That's wonderful. How would you describe your life now compared to when Kratom was part of it, even if things are a work in progress, which we're learning to
Yeah,
accept?
of course. Yeah. Gosh, I feel like when Kratom was a part of it, I was just in survival constantly. There was very little joy in my life. I dreaded waking up. I dreaded going to work. Everything seemed so big and difficult and hard. And it was just getting through, just getting by. There was no thriving. There was no joy. There was very little purpose, very little connection. I became very isolated. And today there's just so much joy. And I have started to build a community and have friends and people in my life that I connect with, and I have hopes and dreams, and it's not just about surviving this one day.
Yep.
Like I believe things are possible that I definitely didn't at that point. I just wanted to get by, and yeah, it was really a very small limited way of living, and yeah, I'm just so grateful to have gotten through that and not be there anymore. Even when I do have hard days, or even when I don't feel like I'm doing as much as I would like to be doing or whatever, there's still always hope there, and there's joy every single day for me in one form or another. And I do show up to see those connections and those little miracles and all of those things that really I was just so withdrawn from life during Kratom use that I was missing it, or just not even around to even be in situations where I could make those connections. And
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
it's just like joy is so important to me today. It's not a frivolous, optional kind of thing. I feel like that is one of the gifts that I have that was really taken from me during my use, is that growing up, people always said like she can make fun out of any situation, and I just feel like I'm getting that back. And I'm also have found a point where I feel like I really am leading an authentic life. Like I do feel like I can really be me for the first time in my whole life. And I have people who support and embrace that. And that's been probably the biggest gift out of all of this, was like getting to the point where I felt like I lost everything. And it's like when you've been there, you just start to care less what other people think. And I don't even really know how to explain it, but after coming out of that, just so much has changed for me. I just look at everything differently and experience it differently. And in August, my friend from Inpatient, we went bungee jumping for her birthday. And I had been I'd been twice before, but it was like 20 years ago. And so I was very nervous. I'm like, what if I get too scared and I don't do it? And even the other two times I had gone, like when I was younger, I shook from head to toe, and it was the most bizarre experience because I stood up on that platform. I did not shake. I did not hesitate. I just jumped. And I just feel like after going through what I went through, like there's a lot less fear inside of me for most things. I still have a lot of fear, but when it comes down to it, I honestly believe that if I can get through that I can really get through anything.
I'm impressed. I would be terrified. Good for you.
I
I would
am
be
a little bit of
like,
a dopamine junkie, so
I would be like backing up until someone's okay. You paid for this. You have to do it.
part of it
Woo!
too was I had to go first, and I'm like, if I
Oh my
chicken
gosh.
out, then Emily's maybe she'll be too scared to do it, and then it'll ruin her birthday. But yeah, it was the most bizarre experience because, like I said, I'd done it before, and it was totally different. There was just no hesitation.
Yeah.
And when I first was about to file for divorce and was really scared because I had no access to finances whatsoever, I had a dear friend tell me sometimes you just have to jump into the void. And that's really what it felt like. Like sometimes you're not going to have it all figured out, but you just have to be willing to jump and
Hell yeah.
trust that if you're doing it for the right reasons, everything's going to be okay.
Hell yeah. Yeah. You are landing in your authenticity and your power right now. I see it. I recognize it. I see it.
Yeah. Some people appreciate it more than others, and that's okay.
That's to them. You're the one on here telling your story. It's important. And yeah, you
Yeah.
have come a long way and you have been through a lot of shit and you are moving up through the other side, moving forward. It's a
Yeah.
journey.
It is a journey. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for someone that's about to quit or in the middle of it and doesn't know what to do?
Yeah. So it's funny because I had someone who I recently met contact me and say, I have someone who's close to me who's using Kratom. I don't know anything about it. And we sat down and I shared my story with her, but she was like, do you think inpatient is totally necessary? And I said, It's so different for everyone. It depends what you're taking. You don't really know what's in it, all these different things, but I would recommend getting the highest level of care you possibly can. I just think that's the best route to go. If you have coverage and can get into inpatient and go to a place where you don't have all the responsibilities of life while you're trying to do this, where you can check out, focus on yourself, be overseen by medical staff and get that support emotionally and the classes, all of it. I highly recommend it. But I also know that I've seen people have success who have gotten a prescription for 4 days of Suboxone from their doctor and done that on their own. And I know not even everyone needs Suboxone to get off of it, but I think a lot of people do. And
Mhm.
I wish that I would have gone and gotten help from the gate instead of torturing myself with a month of trying to cold turkey and then taper and then still end up there anyways. But we all have our own journey. But yeah, I think as much as you can nurture yourself and be taken out of your everyday life at the beginning, as much as you can do that, I would highly recommend doing that.
Yeah, I agree. It can be really hard to admit that you need that level of care in the beginning because a lot of us
Mhm.
are like in denial and we're like, I got this and it'll be a
Yeah.
couple days or I got this.
Yeah.
I've been through this shit. I can do it. And yeah, like we can, but it's hard to admit that you need that much care in the beginning. And it's okay. It's okay to get that much help in the beginning. So I agree with you. I'm
Yeah.
there with you. I went through a similar thing. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. And yeah, I probably should have gotten more professional help in the beginning. But yeah, we don't know what we don't know until we're in it. And this is why we talk about it
Yeah.
now.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I had more resources in the beginning, I think it would have been a lot less scary, and I probably would have made some different choices about getting help sooner. I should have gone to the ER the night that I felt my body start shutting down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I really thought I was putting some things at risk that I wasn't willing to put at risk, even if it meant dying. Honestly, it was where my headspace was at. And nobody should be punished for seeking help.
No.
I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of except for not getting help. So, yeah, it was tough. It was tough to feel like I was being punished. And it's only been really recently that I've shared that I lost my job and that I've shared that what happened with my kids in court, because those were the two things that absolutely just completely filled me with shame. And I think sharing them has made a really big difference
Yep. It's part of
in
the struggle.
removing the shame. Yeah.
It's part
And
of your story. It's part of it.
it is. Yeah. And I know the mother that I am. My kids know the mother that I am. Even while I was using it and coming off of it, there were times where I didn't feel well or was tired and not being fully myself and present for them. I don't feel great about to this day, but I know I never put them in harm's way. And I just have to be okay with that's my truth. And I really can't control anybody else. And going through those really hard times with that whole situation really has just made me stronger in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a great place to finish with the wise words about jumping into the void and that. I love that. Any parting words? Anything else you would like to share?
Yeah, I guess just if you're using Kratom and you don't want to do it anymore, ask somebody for help. There are resources now and it can be done. It's not easy, but life on the other side is more beautiful than you can imagine. And you can get through it and you can stay quit. And there's just a beautiful life. Give yourself a chance, get started, ask for help. I think that's about it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And happy birthday to me on Sunday. Woo.
Yes, this episode is going to air on your sobriety date.
No, it's not.
Yep,
Oh
it
my
is.
gosh.
Sunday, March 1st is when it drops.
God,
So
I feel
when
like I'm
y'all
gonna
are
cry.
hearing this, yep, it's going to be perfect. When y'all are listening to this, it'll be March 1st. And that's when it's airing.
Yeah.
And if you would like to connect with Tiffany on Instagram, she has a Kratom sobriety focused Instagram handle, and it's called Kicking Kratom. So you can connect with her there. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Tiffany. It was really great talking to you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Bye.